Hello, welcome to Ice to Perfection. Today I'm going to be showing you how I get those fabulous straight lines on all my cakes using acrylics by Cake Safe. So just a moment and I'll show you all the materials you're going to need. Okay, so I have a 7-inch cake already leveled and torted. I have a 7-inch cardboard. I have my two 7-inch, well actually these are 7¼ inch acrylic discs from Cake Safe. I have two non-skid pads and I have my workboard. The fresh bowl of buttercream. I have my large offset spatula. I have a small offset spatula. I have a bench scraper with a flat edge so it reaches all the way down. I have a right angle triangle that is 8 inches tall, so I know that it'll be taller than my cake. And I have a level. So let's get started. My non-skid pad goes down first. All right, there's two methods of putting this on. I have found this to be the better method, is to go ahead and put this on before I put my other acrylic on top. That way I know that my cake is equally spaced around the cardboard. And just use your fingers and you can feel, you can actually see that in this video. I did pretty darn good, see? Pretty. All right, so then I take this second acrylic, and again, making sure that the printed side, where is it? The printed side is on the outside, because there is little edges. So I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna actually go a little heavy, and I'm gonna go all the way around it. I'm going in a little deep because sometimes your cakes aren't perfectly flat. So this needs to get a nice, good seal. All right. See that? Okay. Now this is where that lovely triangle comes in. Well, it's clear, so I couldn't see it on my counter. All right. Carefully take the edge, put it up against that bottom one, and you're putting it on the top. And you're going to do that in a couple of different places. To make sure that it's lined up. Now, make sure to get the crumbs off of your board so that those don't get in your icing. If it's off just a little bit, it's not that big of a deal. When you coat this, then when you scrape, should I say, when you scrape, it is ultimately going to straighten itself back out. It is virtually a foolproof method. All right, and this is where this comes in handy. All right, so I'm up just slightly higher on this side. Same on this side. Just squishing down, and I'm pushing down pretty darn hard. That's what we're looking for. All the way around. And I'll tell you the truth, sometimes, even doing this, when you flip, it will still be slightly uneven. Somehow it will get off. All right, now to seal this in. This is where my big spatula comes in. This is where I prefer it. The little spatula works best on the small sizes. All right, I am just gonna push in. I'm gonna hold the top, and I'm gonna push in, and I'm gonna put on a fair amount of buttercream, sealing that top part in. You see, no gaps. It's nice and heavy. Easier to scrape off than it is to put back on. Sometimes holding this, it will slip. Again, like I said, don't worry about it too much, simply because when you scrape, it will come back. I have also found that sometimes if it's warm in the room, it will slip. The whole thing will tear completely apart. And so what I do is I try to get a really rough coat on, and then I pop it in the refrigerator or the freezer if I have room. All right, I got that first layer down. You can't really see it from your angle, from where you are. Let's see if I can move this. There has been some slipping, see? Okay, and then you can see under here that it slipped. But that's okay, I'm not worried about that right now. I will fix that later. Right now I just want it on and it's rough. Right now I just want it on and it's just the rough coat. They say you should be able to do this in one pass or one time doing this. I disagree. I always do two times. I'll put on this coat. I'm not going to worry about whether it's super smooth or not. I am going to make sure it's sealed and that all of my crumbs are locked down. Just pushing around. And I'm back around to where I started. All right, I'm going to go ahead and scrape off some of this. Oh, see? It really did slip. Because now you can see my cake through it. Again, you don't have to worry about that. Oh, it did totally slip. But it's okay, because that means I can show you how to fix it. If not on this go round, then on the next one. It's not anything to worry about. Okay. Not pretty. Not pretty at all. Ugly cake. All right, so here we go. I'm not going around this entire cake. Right now, like I said, remember my icing is cold. My cake is, some of it is slipping. All right, so. All right, so we're back. The cake's been in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. And so I can touch it, no problem. All right, see my yucky side? Okay, so I got to watching the video and I noticed that it is unlevel. This side raised up. And I don't know exactly why, but I know it did. So all I'm gonna do is push it down. All right. Now that my icing is a little firmer, it should hold its shape a little better. All right, that's centered, or that's level. All right, it's all level now. Now, it is off. My upper acrylic slipped. So, now I fix. Now it slipped and it's exposing this side. So I want to manhandle this and push it over. Not the easiest thing to do once it's cold, but it can be done. All right. So you can't see it from your angle, but I can. That I've got it. It should cover the cake now. There, just enough. Okay. I've rinsed off my spatulas and my scraper, and now we start again. Glass them on. And now we put that second coat on, and it'll be much easier to work with. Whoops, I got crumbs. What happens? All right. So with this layer, with this layer of icing, I'm actually going to push really hard because I've got some resistance now with this cake since it's cold. So it'll be a lot easier to work with. And I'm going to try to push all the air bubbles out as I'm doing this. This board that I'm working on, that I have the cakes sitting on, is a rather large board. I can't remember exactly how big this one is, but it won't fit in my freezer, so this has just been in the refrigerator. Sometimes when I work on smaller cakes, or if I plan ahead, I'll actually, like I said, I have more of these boards like this, and so I'll use the smaller boards so that, especially if I'm in a hurry, in a time constraint, so I can stick those in the freezer and rush this process a little bit faster. All right, I've got that coat on. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do a light scrape. I'm not pushing really hard, but I am trying to keep my scraper, can't really see. Trying to keep my scraper perfectly level. That's why I like the bigger boards, because it allows me to do that. Allows me to keep it flat on that board. Okay. All right, so it's still not pretty. I'm still not happy. Again, I forgot to show or talk about this. I'm scraping just the top edge, scraping off all excess icing before I stick it back in the refrigerator. All right, one last thing. I'm going to run my hot water and get it really hot. I don't have small children in my house, so I can keep my water temperature up really high to melt butter, chocolate, anything like that. And of course, it'll take off the first layer of skin too. That is a side effect. Nonetheless, it enables me to be able to hot knife to get a really smooth edge instead of boiling water. So I'll be right back. So I've turned on the speed of my hot water so that I can talk to you still and not be overrun with hot I have a cloth, a lint-free cloth, and I have my bench scraper and my trusty glasses because my eyes are old. So I'm going to run that scraper through the stream of my hot water and heat it up. And it's just the edge. It's just the edge of the scraper. It's not a large portion of it because that doesn't matter. I'm going to wipe it off quickly, and then the magic starts to happen. Repeat. You can tell it's putting a very nice smooth surface. I've got one little area here, and I'm going to go back over again. Try to smooth that out. I got it. Alright, rinse it off one last time. Set it off to the side. Okay, I want to show you. This cake is going to get a very rough fondant cover on it. So I'm not worried about that at all. In years past, that would have driven me absolutely crazy. And what are you gonna do? Nonetheless, I now know that I know in advance what this cake is getting decorated with. So like I said, it's getting a thick bark coated or bark texture of fondant put on it. So I'm not worried about it at all. All right, make sure it looks nice, pretty, and clean. Back into the refrigerator it goes for about another 30 minutes. And then I'll show you how to get it off this board and make a nice, pretty top. All right, so we're back for the final stage of this where we're gonna go ahead and flip this cake. So I've got my little palette knife soaking in hot water. Normally I would run it under the faucet, but I want you to be able to hear me. So, wipe it off, and then I'm going to take it and I'm going to slide in between the top acrylic and the cardboard. You just have to be able to see it. And you just kind of gently go around. Cake's been in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. So it's firm to the touch, but it's not super hard. We have icing on this palette knife. So I was rinsing that off. I always like to come in and clean the board. Scrape off the excess icing that's left there. It's not a necessary step, but something I do. Pop that back in there for just a second. Check my edges. Remember, this is the bottom of the cake. So, my cardboard is not exactly centered, but I have a fair amount of icing all over it. This, I'm not worried about because that's going to be at the bottom of the cake and the fondant is going on top. So, here's the big trick. Take spatula or palette knife, much thinner. I'm going to separate the cake from the board. Just going to go in and scrape that. Okay. And this is where it gets scary. I'm going to take one hand, I'm going to place it in the middle, and I'm going to flip. set my board back down, and because I've been doing this for a while, I can do this, hold this, and scrape my board, and if any icing that was left. Pull off my non-skid pad. Gently set the cake back on the board. Okay? One more time. Scrape. Not a necessary step. Can be salvaged. Put it back in the bowl. This palette knife, the water's not staying hot. And this is where it gets tricky. I had some slippage, so I've got a little bit of exposed parchment paper. So that's what I'm going to try to find. So I know that's where I need to put my spatula or my palette knife in between the parchment and the acrylic. And then I'm just going to slide around, breaking that seal. Alright, lift straight off, there to side. Rinse that palette knife off for the last time. Put it off to the side. You see how my parchment paper slipped and was on the outside of the acrylic? It's going to make it real easy just to peel it back. Voila. Not perfect. We're going to fix that. Alright. Now is where the magic comes out. Maybe that was the magic. I'm going to fill in the air pockets. I'm going to level this off on the top. Pushing over, making sure I get all the way over to the edges. It's still pretty, it's pretty thin on top. I can see the cake through it. But that's okay, because now is when I can add more icing and make it pretty. Top. I have messed up this side, so I'm going to get my bench paper hot. And hot knife it. See how I messed it up? Here. Good as good. Alright, I'm looking at the top to make sure that I have this nice little lip all the way around it. And I do. Which is good. That's the goal. I'll rinse off my big palette, my big offset spatula. Get it hot. Pull towards the center. Rinse and repeat. This takes a very light touch. We have sharp edges. And that concludes this tutorial. So, thank you for watching.